Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the CLO Summit India Free Summit Google Hangout with none other than Dr. Marshall Goldsmith. As you all know, Dr. Marshall Goldsmith is the world's number one leadership coach, writer, author, and guru. His recent book, Triggers, is a bestseller already on New York Times and Wall Street Journal. Dr. Marshall Goldsmith also has been ranked the number one leadership thinker in the world by Thinkers 50 for the past several editions. The Thinkers 50 voting for the same award is currently underway, and we would request you post the session to go out and do vote for him. And without further ado, over to Dr. Goldsmith. Marshall, take it away.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Very happy to be joining my friends in India. For those of you who I don't know, I will briefly introduce myself and we will begin. My name is Marshall. I'm from a small town in Kentucky called Valley Station, Kentucky. I went to school in Indiana. I got a PhD at UCLA. I was a college professor and dean when I was very, very young. Then for the past 38 years, I've done three things. One is I give talks or teach classes. Now, this is what I love to do the most. I love speaking and teaching. The second thing is I coach executive, which I'm most famous for, and I'm the coach of the CEO of Ford and Pfizer and Glaxo, many companies, the World Bank. And one thing I'm very proud of, if you look at my book, Triggers, you'll see that 27 CEOs have endorsed the book. What I'm proud of is in the old days, people were ashamed to have a coach. They would be embarrassed to have a coach. Well, these are 27 very distinguished people who now say it's okay to have a coach. So I'm proud of that. Over the years, I've tried to change coaching from a negative experience to a positive experience. And I think that's been very, very good for everybody. And then, of course, the third thing I do is writing and editing books and articles. My most popular book is What Got You Here Won't Get You There, a huge seller in India and around the world. And then again, my new book we're talking about today is Triggers. Now, what are our goals? First, we're going to understand the concept of triggers and how we create the world and then triggers in the world at the same time are creating us. I'm going to share a nice model you can take back to use for planning for yourself, people, teams. I'm going to talk about why we don't achieve the goals we want to achieve. And then I'm going to finish some very exciting new research. And I'm going to invite you all to participate in a process, if you wish, to actually get to test this stuff out. Now let's get started. Why don't we become the people we want to become? My theory is in life, if I ask you, who's the you want to become, you'll tell me a beautiful story. A story about a person who's in shape, who's nice with a family, who works hard, is achieving all kinds of stuff. We all have this dream of this person that we want to become. Yet in life, we often face detours. Employee engagement is an all-time low. Depression, at least in many countries, is very high. Millions of people are not achieving their goals. Millions of organizational members are living in dysfunctional environments. What happens? Why is change so difficult? Why is it that we don't live up to our New Year's resolutions? And why is it even hard to change the simple little things in life? Well, as we go through life, we're constantly bombarded by triggers. Now, what is a trigger? A trigger is any stimulus that impacts our behavior. Could be smell, sight, sound, feeling, any stimulus that impacts our behavior, and we are constantly bombarded by triggers as we go through life. And many of these triggers might push us in the right direction. On the other hand, most don't. Most push us in the wrong direction. Now, as we journey through life, there's an interesting question. Who's in control? Well, in one dimension, people believe in external control, the other internal control. If we look at both of those from a high-low perspective, people who believe in low amounts of internal or external control believe in kind of the random walk theory of life. It's all pretty random. Then some people believe very high in terms of internal control, but low external control. They believe I create my world. And to a degree, this is true. We can create our world. To a degree, it's also not true. There's a famous book called The Secret, which is a very interesting book, sold 7 million copies, based on some very, very flawed research. The idea behind the book is if I visualize it, it will happen. And they studied people and they visualized good things happening, and they happened. This is called the survivor bias. Mary had cancer. She envisioned it would go away, and it went away. Sally wanted to be a movie star. She envisioned it, and she became a movie star. They didn't interview the thousands of waitresses in Hollywood who had the same vision and are waiting on tables, and they didn't interview the dead people. This is called the survivor bias. So I believe it's good to have positive thoughts, and it's good to envision the future. It's quite naive to believe that we can totally create the future. If that would be true, we wouldn't be getting sick and dying. The other view is the world creates me, high on external control, low on internal control. And there's a lot of people that believe that, and that's the famous B.F. Skinner, the psychologist, says we're basically the stimulus response machine, that we just respond to the world around us, and the world is really creating us. Well, what I'm going to talk about in triggers is something called mutual creation. Mutual creation. That is, I do create the world, and at the same time, the world creates me. I am creating my world, and at the same time, triggers in my world are creating me. As we journey through life, fate and choice. Fate, that's the hand of cards we've been dealt. And then any second in time, we cannot change the hand. Choice, how we play the hand. And again, your former leader, Mr. Neighbor, said, fate is the hand of cards we've been dealt, and choice is how we play that hand. Now, we live today in a perfect storm of distraction. Social media, multitasking, and we all have something called the monkey mind. I'm a Buddhist, and monkey mind is part of Buddhist philosophy. What is our monkey mind? Our mind is often like a monkey swinging through the jungle from vine to vine. And we get distracted quite easily. Let me give you an example. The internet is kind of amphetamines for the monkey mind. Have you ever gone online and said, I'm going to look up something that's going to take about 5 minutes, and 3 hours later, you're still online. You have no idea why you went online in the first place. Well, what happened is the monkey mind takes over. We have these stimulus and they distract us. Now, why don't people do what I teach? I'm probably the only teacher you've ever heard who's actually collected research from tens of thousands of people who've been to my courses. And I measure, do people do what I teach, and do they get better? Well, guess what? The good news is people that do this stuff tend to get better, and not surprisingly, the people that do nothing don't get better. Why don't people do what I teach? Years ago, my biggest client was Johnson & Johnson. I had the privilege of working with their top 2,000 leaders, and at the end of my program, 98% of the people said, I'm going to do the simple things Marshall taught me to. I'm going to talk to people, I'm going to follow up, I'm going to get measured, I'm going to do these things. A year later, 70% did something, 30% absolutely zero. I got to talk to people that did nothing and said, why'd you do nothing? They had nothing to do with ethics, values, or integrity. They want to know where they are. Most ethical company in the world. They're good people. I'm sure you're good people. Had nothing to do with intelligence. So they're smart people. I'm sure you're smart. The reason people did nothing had to do with the dream. And the dream sounds like this. I'm incredibly busy right now. Given pressures of work and home and new technology that follows me everywhere, and emails and voicemails and global competition, I feel about as busy as I ever have. Sometimes I feel overcommitted. Every now and again, my life seems a little out of control. But you know, I'm working on some very unique and special problems right now. And the worst of this is going to be over in 3 or 4 months. And then I'm going to take 2 or 3 weeks to get organized and spend some time with the family. And I'm going to begin my new Healthy Life program. And everything will be different, and it will not be crazy anymore. Have you ever had a dream that vaguely resembles that dream? How many years have you been having this dream? Well, the reality is, it's always going to be crazy. The pressures are not going to stop. Globalization is not going away. And we have classic delusions that keep us from becoming the person we want to become. One is called the planner bias. We believe the person making the planning, the plan for the day is the same as the person who's doing the plan. Well, the planner is planning to go on a healthy food diet. At the beginning of the day, is not that hungry doer. At the end of the day, it's staring at the chocolate cake. That planner that's planning to work out is not that tired doer that says, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. So there's a big difference between the planner and the doer. I talk about this in the book Triggers. There's a huge gap between I understand and I do. One of the great myths of life is if I understand, I will do. Wrong. I believe most of us truly understand what we should do. We just don't do it. We believe it won't take that long. It won't be that hard. Or another one of my favorite delusions I talk about in the book is called, today is a special day. Well, you know, I would go on my diet, but it's my birthday, or my mother's birthday, or my father's birthday, or the Super Bowl, or something. Or it's a hard day today because someone got sick, or something happened. We have this delusional skill of saying today is somehow special, and then we believe tomorrow is somehow going to be different. Seldom. We believe we have the wisdom and courage to objectively evaluate our own behavior. Wrong. We deify willpower. and we put down people that say they need help and structure. One of the greatest learnings I've had this year is teaching people to overcome shame. Overcome the fact that we all need help and get people to admit, hey, I need help and it's okay. Now, I'll give myself as an example. I pay a woman named Kate to call me on the phone every day. Every day she listens to me read questions I wrote and provide answers I wrote every day. Somebody asked me, why do you do this? Don't you know the theory about how to change behavior? I wrote the theory about how to change behavior. That's why I do this. I know how hard it is. I have now 12.5 million frequent flyer miles on one airline. That's an excuse to be a bad parent, get divorced, be out of shape. Those excuses don't matter. It's hard for me, it's hard for you, it's hard for all of us. And once we get over this ego and say, you know what, my name is Marshall, I need help and it's okay, life gets a whole lot better for all of us. Now, again, we all need help and structure. I'm going to give you a few examples of this. One of them is called, Dr. Atul Gawande wrote a wonderful book called The Checklist Manifesto. And in the book, The Checklist Manifesto, Dr. Gawande makes a fascinating point. If you go in for a surgery and the nurse asks the doctor a series of very simple questions from a checklist before the surgery, the odds on unneeded infection plummet and the death rate because of unnecessary infection is cut by 2/3. The huge majority of hospitals around the world, and I'm sure India is no better, do not allow the nurse to ask the doctor questions. Why? Ego. The doctor is ashamed to need this level of help from the nurse. According to Dr. Gawande, more people have died because the egos of surgeons than died in the Vietnam War. Alan Mulally at Ford. Alan Mulally at Ford, fantastic guy. He put together a process at Ford where he encourages everyone to talk about their priorities, red, yellow, green. When he starts, the company is losing $17 billion. Top 16 leaders, top 5 priorities, red, yellow, green, 80 green. Everyone said they were on target. So Alan said, you know, we're losing $17 billion and everyone's on target. I guess our target must be to lose $17 billion. Let's go do it again. Finally, somebody said red. Mark Fields, who's now the CEO, said red. Alan starts applauding. He said, thank you. You have the courage to admit you have a problem. And what does red mean? I have a problem, I don't have a solution. And you have the courage to admit you don't have a solution, and it's okay. Getting over that shame is a huge deal. Once people got over that shame of admitting we have problems and we don't know the answers. And what Alan does is even more amazing. As a CEO, he then says, you know, not only do you not have the answer, I don't have the answer either. His theory is, why should I believe just because I'm the CEO that I know more than anyone in the Ford Motor Company to solve your problems? He said, our company has hundreds of thousands of people who can help us. Let's get the answer from them. Mark Field's problem was solved in 10 minutes. Once people started being open and admitting that they have a problem, life was much better. Have you ever heard this before from a leader? Don't come to me with a problem. Don't come to me unless you have a solution. Well, according to my friend Alan, that's one of the worst things you can ever say. If I work for you and I have a problem and I do not have a solution, you shouting at me doesn't make me get a solution. It just means I'm going to hide the problem. Well, his attitude is, let's all get over the shame. Let's tell the truth. Things start getting a lot better. In my coaching, people get lots of structure and lots of direction, and basically that's why people get better. Now, as we journey through life, here's my goal in the book Triggers. It's pretty simple. We are constantly bombarded by triggers, and the trigger produces an impulse, and the impulse leads to a behavior. One of the key goals in the book is to change the cycle, to say there will still be triggers, and they will still produce an impulse. But instead of behavior, think, become aware, and realize I have a choice, and then behave. Become aware and then behave. Let me give you a negative example and a positive example of triggers. First, the negative example. Everyone talks about we want to encourage upward feedback and open communication. And I say, would punishing the messenger be a bad thing? Oh, yes, we would never punish the messenger. So I have a case study of you. Imagine you're driving the car. Lots of traffic. Cars are cutting in front of you. Person in the front seat goes, look out, there's a red light up ahead. Do you say thank you? Or perhaps, what do you mean there's a red light? Do you think I can see? I know how to drive the car. Well, that trigger produces an impulse that leads to behavior, which is exactly the opposite of what we should do. The positive case study. One of the things I teach people in my classes is don't always try to win, don't try to be right, and don't try to prove you're a bigger martyr than everyone who's around you. I got an email a few months ago that made my whole week a good week. A gentleman sent me an email and he said, I want to send you an email today and say thank you. He said, yesterday my wife called me and she was having a terrible day. And she talked about what a bad day she was having, and I thought about it. I was just getting ready to point out how I was under terrific pressure and her problems paled in significance to my own. He said, for some reason, I remembered your course. And I just breathed and said, become aware, this is my wife, not the enemy. And I said, I love you. Thank you for all the sacrifices you made for the family. He said, I spent $25. I bought her some flowers, and I said, I love you, and gave her the flowers. He said, that was the best $25 I've ever spent in my life. Thank you very much. Well, to me, that's the purpose of the book. Stop and breathe. Stop and breathe and think before we react. Now, if you look at the concept of employee engagement, and I know many of you are chief learning officers or HR people, I went to a presentation with a bunch of heads of HR, and the topic was employee engagement. And these were three of the top HR people in the world, and they talked about everything they knew about employee engagement. And it was all good. They talked about empowerment and training and good leaders, and I couldn't argue with anything they said. But then they said, global employee engagement is near an all-time low. Well, I'm thinking, if you're so smart and these ideas are so good, why is global employee engagement near an all-time low? And then I realized one thing. 100% of the dialogue is what can the company do to engage you, and absolutely 0% is what can you do to engage yourself. And I realized something. There was absolutely no responsibility given to the employees to take responsibility for their own engagement. Back to our model, it wasn't mutual creation. It was, we are going to control you, and if we make these triggers for you, you will be engaged, as if you don't have a brain of your own. The great John Kennedy, when he was inaugurated as President of the United States, had a speech, and one of the best famous lines is, don't ask what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. Everything in employee engagement was exactly the opposite of John Kennedy's speech. 100% what's the company do to engage you, and 0% what are you going to do to engage yourself. Well, as I listened to this, I realized these people are missing half of an equation. I'm on a typical flight. There's two flight attendants. One's positive, motivated, upbeat, enthusiastic. One is negative, bitter, angry, and cynical. Same plane, same pay, same employee engagement program. What's the difference? Not the outside, it's on the inside. So that led me to a lot of research that showed a key variable in our success is not the company or the program, it's the person. Now I'm going to share our new research. First, I'm going to talk about what I do and how I got into this, and I'm going to share the new research that's been really kind of spearheaded by my daughter, Kelly. Now, I have a process I'm going to share with you that takes 2 minutes a day. It costs absolutely nothing. It's going to help you get better at almost anything. Some of you are skeptical right now. You're thinking, yeah, right, 2 minutes a day, costs nothing. Help me get better at almost anything. Sounds too good to be true. I'm going to make a second prediction. Half of you that start doing this are going to quit within 2 weeks. And you will not quit because it does not work. You will quit because it does work. What I'm going to teach you is very easy to understand, and it's very, very hard to do. I want you to make a list of questions that represent the most important behaviors in your life. They could involve friends, family, health. Put it on an Excel spreadsheet, 7 boxes across, one for every day of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Every question must be answered with a yes, which would be recorded as a 1, and no, recorded as 0 or a number. At the end of the week, you get a report card. I'm going to warn you in advance. The report card at the end of the week won't be as pretty as a corporate values plot stuck up on a wall. You do this every day, you learn life is so easy to talk and so hard to live. Well, I'll share some of my questions. They're not intended to be yours. The idea is you write your own questions. And by the way, you don't need to record mine. If you want all of my questions, send me an email, Marshall, M-A-R-S-H-A-L-L, at marshallgoldsmith.com. I'll send you all my questions and an article describing this process. For example, one of my questions is, how many times yesterday did you try to prove you were right when it was not worth it? Kind of hard for that old professor not to be right all the time. How many angry or destructive comments did you make about people yesterday? How many minutes did you walk? How many push-ups? How many sit-ups? Did you say or do something nice for your wife, your son, your daughter? How many minutes did you write? Just a lot of questions about life. I've been doing this every day. Why do I pay a woman to call me up and listen to me do this every day? I don't have the courage to do it by myself, and I don't have the discipline to do it by myself. My name is Marshall. I may be the world's most famous executive coach. I don't have the courage to do this by myself, and I don't have the discipline. My name is Marshall. I need help, and you know what? It's okay. One of my big breakthroughs as a coach is every one of those 27 CEOs, you know what they say? My name is Dr. Jim Kim. I'm the president of the World Bank. I need help. It's okay. My name is Alan Mulally. I'm CEO of the Year in the United States. I'm the CEO of Ford. I need help, and it's okay. Well, once we're able to do this, life gets a whole lot better. Now, my daughter Kelly, I'm going to finish with this, taught me something that's incredibly powerful called active questions. And any of you that are brought up in Hindu philosophy will recognize this. It's very Hindu. They all start with, did I do my best? Did I do my best too? If you read the Gita, you're going to see that's the whole point. You know, you are where you are. All you can do is do your best. Play the cards you've been dealt. Well, did I do my best? And I'm going to share 6 basic questions with you. And our research on this is amazing. Here are the 6 questions I want you to challenge yourself with every day. Number 1, did I do my best to set clear goals? Rather than that employee engagement question, did someone set goals for me? Did I do my best to set clear goals for myself? Number 2, did I make progress toward achieving my goals? Number 3, did I do my best to find meaning? Rather than saying, did someone give me meaning? Did I do my best to find meaning? Number 4, did I do my best to be happy? Rather than saying, someone else make me happy? Did I do my best to make myself happy? Number 5, did I do my best to build relations with others? Rather than, to me, the ridiculous question of, do you have a friend at work? Were you the friend? And finally, number 6, did I do my best to be fully engaged? Rather than saying, did the company engage me? Well, did I do my best to engage myself? Now, I'm going to share our research on this, and then I'm going to wrap up. You're all invited to participate in the 6-question research. And if you'd like to participate, send me an email, marshall@marshallgoldsmith.com. Just say 6-question research. I'll sign you up for our study. Here's the way it works. I'll send you an email every day for 10 days. At the end of 10 days, every day for 10 days, you're asked 6 questions. Did I do my best to set clear goals, make progress toward achieving my goals, find meaning, be happy, build positive relationships, and be fully engaged? Did I do my best? You're testing yourself every day. 79 studies, 2,537 participants. What have we learned so far? 37% of the people who do this 10 days later say I'm better at everything. 65% said I'm better on at least 4 or 6. 89% said I'm better at something. Maybe 10.5% say I stayed the same, and about 0.5% say I got worse. Why? Every day, these 6 questions get me to focus not on what I cannot change. Every day, they get me to focus on what I can change. And we have produced more positive change in employee engagement with this process than almost any engagement program that I'm aware of. So the final thing I'd like to say, Kumar, is thank you for this nice invitation. I hope you found our little time together to be practical and useful. Send me an email if you'd like to follow up with me. And thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Marshall. That was a great session, and I'm sure people in India and some of our guests from all over the world have learned something really from your session today.
Thank you.
Before we log off, just a reminder and a request to everyone that the voting for the Thinkers 50, one of the world's top awards for influencers in leadership, coaching, and learning, is underway right now. Marshall has won this award several times, and his latest book, as you know, is a bestseller in New York Times and Wall Street Journal. And we wish Marshall all the very best and all the success with the current edition of Thinkers 50 as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marshall, and good day to you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.